In a previous video, I went over the plot of my first Stickman story, and if you haven't seen that one, well, it doesn't really matter. Plus, you'll probably just continue to watch this video anyway, and then go watch that one later. Don't worry about it. You don't have to watch that one before. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I don't care. Stickman 2, Revenge of the Weather. What a title. Straight to the point. What's it about? A meteorologist fighting God? No. It's an equally cringy sequel to The Adventures of Stickman. Arguably makes less sense and has a lot of pointless scenes, but at least this one has significantly more original ideas, and the quality has improved even if only slightly. So I'm going to stop talking and just get to the plot. It's a sequel. We don't need backstory this time. Just go watch the first video if you care. If you want to see what happens after this one, you can hit that subscribe button too, wink wink. The story starts with a previously on Stickman, with 2 panels of what happened before, and it's just Cloudman escaping the ice. If this was your first Stickman comic, you would have no idea what actually happened previously. Just read the first one. Duh, we're not going to hold your hand and re-explain everything. If you were a true fan, you would already know what's happening. Cloudman finds an old abandoned building to make into his own base and heads across the street to his local Radio Shack to get some equipment for evil doing. We cut to the Ninja Cave. Couldn't come up with a better name? Bob is playing the Wii, and Larry is slouched in a chair. And he's apparently depressed. He's sarcastic, gives one-word responses, and is just generally in a bad mood for no reason. Bob is seriously doing his best here to lighten the mood, but Larry just isn't having it. This is also never explained later. He's just a dick to be a dick. And I wonder what that says about me mentally at that time. Their argument is interrupted by an alert, and the pair run toward a painting on the wall, press a secret button, and the walls open with fireman poles to slide down. Wonder where I got that from. Then they emerge from elevators seconds later, fully costumed up. And they switch sides for some reason. This makes no sense functionally. I guess if it helps them get into costume faster, sure. But the idea of having a secret fireman pole to get into your secret base, while also living a double life, which neither Stickman nor Stickkick need to worry about, since Stickkick technically doesn't exist, and Stickman doesn't have a home life. There's no Bruce Wayne situation here, and furthermore, there's no need for secret identities. Yet it still plays a part in the plot later. We'll get to that. I steal someone else's joke, and the heroes learn that the alert is for a disturbance at the Discount Radio Shack. We then see Cloudman assault the cashier and morph his hand into Thor's hammer. I guess he has more in common with Sandman than we thought. The heroes arrive, and literally stand on the building that Cloudman is making his base in, which I don't know if I did that on purpose as a kid, or if that's just a detail that I'm just now noticing. I find it funny. Stickman bursts into the store, crushes a guy, and asks who the criminal is. There are literal bodies on the floor. He is actively using electricity to kill a man, and Stickman just stands there. People have died. And if you remember from the beginning, this happens pretty much immediately after the first comic, so Cloudman should be fresh in Stickman's mind. But who else does he know that has electricity and can use electric powers? Sorry, I'm gonna just head on down to the Electricity People convention to double check. Gotta be sure it isn't one of them before I blame Cloudman. Stickman is very surprised by this development, and Cloudman informs him that a different guy was thrown in jail instead. Oof. Haven't been a hero for a year yet, and you're already putting the wrong people in jail. Not a good start. Not a good start. Cloudman uses on our Stick Boys, goes turbo, takes the critical electronics, and flies away. I assume just to the other side of the street. Stickman thinks they can catch him, but for some reason the stinky attitude has jumped to Stickkick, and they, like true heroes, give up and head home to watch TV. Good stuff. We transition to a prison known as the Freak Jail. DC has Arkham Asylum and Blackgate Prison. Marvel has the Raft. Stickville has the Freak Jail. I mean, just call it like it is, I guess. Baseball Head over here asks if some vague project is finished. His cellmate, who is somehow sitting in a void, assures them that it will begin at lunch. So we get to lunchtime, and somehow they have a mini catapult. Now this begs some questions. Did they build it here or in their cell? Did they smuggle it in someone's butthole? Did they coordinate a bunch of guys to bring different individual pieces together to be assembled later like IKEA furniture? How did no guards notice? How did no one notice? They fire their lunch at who I assume is one of the bigger guys in the prison. And of course he blames the nearest weakling and shot puts him into another table of prisoners. The guards arrive, and they use the catapult to take them out. Pretty weak prison if there's only 2 guards. I don't know what these 2 are doing under the table, but they sure aren't helping. At all. Maybe they were the ones who smuggled the pieces in their buttholes. While there's no evidence of a prison riot, I suppose one is happening, and the trio run to the roof where there is a convenient helicopter with no guards or pilot anywhere in sight. Suddenly 3 bangs ring out. These guys are really bad shots apparently. 2 guards show up and hit one of the escaping prisoners, which causes the second one to stop and try to save him. I'm pretty sure he died though. That's a shot to the head. Well, the leader guy doesn't have time for sympathy. He closes the door and takes off, leaving the 2 to be taken back to their cells as he flies away. Not sure where he went, not sure where he landed, not sure what he did with the helicopter or how he evaded the law, but he's free now. And we transition back to our Stick Boys again. Stick Kick is watching the Gain More show, where they encourage people to get as fat as possible. I was trying to do a play on Weight Watchers for some reason, and apparently this person on this episode weighs 6 quadrillion pounds. Let me put that in perspective. The heaviest measured thing on Earth, is the revolving service structure of Launchpad 39B at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, which weighs a minuscule 5.34 million pounds. That ain't a stick person no more. That there is a gravitational anomaly, and I think a sinkhole would appear on my desk if I ever tried to draw this contestant. Moving on from this incredibly strange television programming, Larry and Bob decide to go to the grocery store together. Neither of them have jobs, so I don't know where any of the money came from for this. We pan over to another set of customers who crash their carts into each other. Then we go back to Larry and Bob, arguing about what's on the grocery list, because Larry put only chips on it, since Bob made him spill 1 bag at the beginning of the story. Also a comb, so his hair can look good. But nearly no one in this entire series has hair, so it's all just pointless bad attempts at jokes. I don't think any of this was even funny to my younger self. And these are the dangers of writing as you go. You do a lot of filler, and it has no point. It's all unplanned, and it just isn't funny. Just wasted space and time. I also wish that I hadn't written Larry and Bob arguing so much. Like, arguments can be funny and add an interesting dynamic, but if that's all they're doing all the time, then it seems really toxic. Plus, they're supposed to be friends, and I don't make that super evident here. We return to the customers, and what do you know? It's Cloudman and the escaped guy. They start talking, and just like the aliens, Cloudman uses his incredibly high charisma stat to convince this escapee that they should work together, since they both have a bone to pick with Stickman. If it wasn't obvious, this guy is the guy who was wrongly put in prison in the last issue. It goes back to Larry and Bob, where they bump carts with someone else, and unlike at Discount Radio Shack, he immediately recognizes it's Cloudman. Finally, they have a stupid misunderstanding, and out of frustration, Bob yells at Larry as Stickman, giving away his identity. As I said before, with these 2 guys, secret identities are literally useless for them, especially since Cloudman already knows where their ninja cave is. So what's the point besides pulling another hero cliche? They immediately run from Cloudman and cartoonishly crash into each other on the other side of the aisle. They see Cloudman coming for them. So it's now time to rip off their clothes to reveal their hero costumes underneath. I really like this scene because it only works in this medium with stick people, because there's no costume to see, it's just a line. So like, I think it's a funny visual gag. I like that one. It's here that Stickman is struggling to get his clothes to rip. That's a point in the having no powers camp, and Stickman is grabbed by Cloudman. Finally, Bob rips his clothes and his pants fall down. Haha, funny kid joke, man lose pants. Once he gets his mask on, someone from the store approaches him and asks for an autograph. I suppose these guys are actually famous now? Stickman is over here fighting for his life, dodging Cloudman's attacks, waiting for Stick-Kick to join the fight and help him out. He jumps onto the store shelves looking for the high ground. But unlike Obi-Wan, Stickman isn't a master, and Cloudman effortlessly pushes over the store shelves, causing them to crash into each other, trapping Stickman underneath a stack of heavy metal, leaving his fate to Cloudman. Meanwhile, Stick-Kick has quickly amassed a whole line of fans coming to meet and greet and get signatures, including a group of 3 girls who are somehow completely infatuated with a couple guys who haven't even done that much, nor are they even all that attractive. You see any muscles or abs there? Also, these girls can commune with demons. One of them gets an autograph, the other gets a kiss, ew, and the last one wanted to see Stickman, but oh shoot, he forgot all about Stickman, because he was too enamored in himself. And apparently no one heard the epic fight that Stickman and Cloudman were having. This whole scene with the girls is incredibly awkward to reread, and it's truly a reflection of the transition to middle school for my younger self, and I'm going to leave it at that. Stick-Kick catches up to Stickman, and he is suspended in an icicle from the ceiling. If Cloudman really hated Stickman as much as he says he does, he would have killed him and not just left him there. And I never mentioned what the escapee did here, or where he went. He just disappeared. We return to the ninja cave, and of course we get another argument about how the encounter went down. Again, I really wish I hadn't made them argue so much. It's not funny. It doesn't flesh out the characters. It's just filler. This is what my young mind thought was the next logical plot point in the story. So I'm going to skip how this segment has another naked joke, an attempted meta joke, and doesn't move the plot at all. We're just moving on. We get a look at what the villains are doing now together in their newfound partnership. I must have been strapped for ideas, because just like the heroes in the first issue, the escapee says that the hideout is a piece of junk and offers to give it a makeover. And just like that, the abandoned and decrepit building is full of functioning, modern technology. I will say though, this situation makes a lot more sense than with Larry and Bob, since we've already established that Cloudman stole a bunch of technology from the Discount Radio Shack, and that the escapee is pretty good with technology. So, put those 2 things together, makes sense. There's not really a new idea here, but there is growth. My writing skill has increased by 1. We learn that somehow this guy has been creeping on Cloudman, and has not only made a PowerPoint presentation showing that he can create smaller cloud minions, he also wrote a whole book on powers Cloudman can teach himself. How did he know? Is there just some video game ass skill tree that this guy has access to? It makes no sense. And then, to create a Grand Canyon sized plot hole, no, not even a plot hole, literally a blatant ignorance of canon, the guy says he's gonna go find where Larry and Bob live. How does he know their names? Why doesn't Cloudman tell him that he already knows where they live? I could rant even more, but I'll save it for when we get to the part of the story where it becomes relevant again, because I'm realizing that as I'm writing this, that this is the worst case of plot hole syndrome I think I've ever seen. I think I've ever written myself. I can't believe I never noticed this in all my years of rereading it and rewriting it. So, the escapee reveals his arsenal, which I guess he invented in like 12 minutes.
With my powers of technology, brains, computer skills, and chemical elixirs, I will dominate and become— Harold! What? Stop pretending that your coffee is a magical elixir! Okay. With my powers of— whatever, Techno-Man!
And we find out that this villain actually has a name. Harold. And he dubs himself Techno-Man. Techno, like technology, not the music, the technology. Yeah, another banger from your writers here at Ben Does Stuff. Now, I know I called Bob Stick-Kick for the entirety of the previous video, but that was just to make describing him easier. Not that saying Stick-Kick every single time is easier, but whatever. I should have done that with Harold, Techno-Man. I should have done that with him for this one, but I didn't. because I kind of wanted to keep the surprise there, but there was really no surprise there. I don't know why I did it. Sue me. This is the scene where Bob realizes that he never actually got a hero name, and he asks Larry to give him one. But Larry, being the great friend that he is, simply doesn't want to entertain the idea. He says he doesn't have ideas, gives insults as potential names, and straight up just tells him to shut up. I enjoy funny, playful arguments. This is just bad. It's all the stuff I hate seeing in characters on TV. It's barely funny, and the back and forth isn't even clever. And this whole name gag was stolen from the LEGO Star Wars animated comics, where there is a suspiciously similar joke about coming up with an original name. The Stick Boys discover that Techno-Man is doing casual acts of terrorism throughout the city, which leads to what is probably my favorite gadget in this story, the Ninja Star Hoverboard. It's thematically appropriate with the heroes, it gives them versatile transportation, and it's just dope. Stickman flies off to confront Techno-Man, while Stick Kick struggles to maintain control. And after all the time we've spent with this character, it is finally revealed that Techno-Man was the guy from the alley all the way back at the beginning of the first issue. Gasp! Wowie! It's like if I had given my stick people actual designs, you would be able to tell who was who by looking at them. The people in the supermarket have more character design than my main characters. Anyway, Stick Kick crashes into Stickman and they plummet to a rooftop, knocking them both unconscious. Then Techno-Man fires his claw net gun thing and captures Stickman. There wasn't even a fight. There wasn't even a fight here. They just flew up, talked, and then because of Stick Kick's incompetency, crashes into Stickman, and they both plummet to the earth. I'm literally writing. I wrote the thing that I hate. I hate it when clumsiness causes the plot to move forward, or causes it to like hit a snag. I hate that, and I literally did it. This next bit, where Stick Kick is like, "I'll save you." I'll never find him. Just his immediate discouragement is so hilarious to me, though. Bob returns to the ninja cave and runs around naked. I'm starting to get concerned with the amount of showers and nudity that there is in these stories. He then opens all the chips that they got from the store, makes a big pile, and suddenly remembers that he needs to save Stickman. I like that part. I don't know, I think his lack of urgency is hilarious. We cut back to the villain's lair, where they open the new Stickman limited edition $19 loot bag. But it's empty. Stickman has already escaped and brings the fight to the villains. But even with superpowers, the great equalizer that levels the playing field for all of us is a hard metal bat. So they tie Stickman back up and explain their new plot. It's very convoluted, so let me try to summarize as best I can. Cloudman wants to humiliate, discredit, and ultimately kill Stickman, probably just because he stopped Cloudman from using his powers to rob banks. His plan is to clone Stickman, but genetically modify the clones to have the mask as their face. Then, he'll send them out to cause mass chaos, besmirching Stickman's name and reputation. Then, once everyone cancels Stickman, Cloudman will reveal his identity on public television. And as we have gone over before, this makes no sense. It has all the right ideas. It follows the motives and typical actions of your average supervillain. But in the context of this story, it is completely off the rails and disconnected. There's no reason for it. Not to mention, based on the other plot holes that I've already created, Cloudman and Techno-Man should already know Stickman and Stick Kick's identities. Not that it matters anyway, because neither of them have anything worth knowing their identities, except maybe their ninja cave and the tech inside. But apparently, making a secret headquarters is really easy in this world. Just as easy as it is to steal the alien technology and repurpose it for the purpose of cloning. Stickman is back inside the container the aliens used to test on him, which I find to be a cool callback, because Cloudman would definitely have access to the technology after the aliens bit the dust. Stick Kick suddenly bursts through a window like a total badass and starts beating up the villain. But we don't get to see any of it, unfortunately. Stickman also escapes from the bag that he was tied up in, just to prove a point, and now he has to escape the alien machine before the gas suffocates him. And uh-oh, the glass is too thick. He can't break it. But Stick-Kick proves himself to be very capable and hucks Cloud-Man right into it. And his skull is so thick that it breaks, freeing Stickman. But not after the machine has sequenced 50% of his DNA. Techno-Man decides to bail like a little bitch, and we never see him again. He really did next to nothing in this comic. And I realized that, and planned to have him come back in a bigger way in a later comic, probably like the 4th or 5th one, but I did him no justice in the story. So Techno-Man is technically defeated, Stickman is free, and Cloud-Man is down. All good, right? Wrong. Because the machine is now going to explode in 30 seconds. Because of course it is. They run out of the building, and then the machine explodes in the biggest boom ever seen in the Stickman series. That somehow only damages the villain's base and doesn't affect the heroes, who barely made it out at 1. It also doesn't affect the discount Radio Shack across the street for some reason, which it should, but I guess it doesn't. But it totally should. And uh-oh, Cloud-Man was caught in the blast. Looks like justice has been served. The villain, destroyed by his own machinations and hubris, has... Oh, no, hold on. Cloud-Man contained the explosion. Not sure what that has to do with clouds, but sure. He can control fire now. He's the Avatar. Stickman and Stick-Kick touch the cool orb and face the full force of the explosion, which sends them flying across town, and they crash into the armored facility for fighting. Obviously, which is where Cloud-Man gets an idea. He absorbs the explosive energy into himself. Don't know when he got the ability to do that, or how he learned he could do that. But he creates a pillar of lava and flies to the facility to begin his rematch. Stickman immediately skips to the trick that worked the first time, and it is quickly swatted away. Cloud-Man is now using ice and fire in his attacks, and he is more powerful and dangerous than ever. Luckily, they landed in this armory, where plenty of weapons are available. The heroes duck behind a shield and throw some grenades, which end up being thrown back. Cloud-Man throws the Stick Boys around and spawns an army of Cloud Men. Yet another large group of enemy fodder for the heroes to slap around, with their nuts, specifically. Stickman reveals 2 new gadgets of his, one being a protective and bouncy bubble that shields them from the onslaught of Cloudmen, and the other being full robotic decoys of Stickman and Stick-Kick. These come completely out of nowhere, and are very strange in comparison to the Ninja Stars and Hoverboards. But the decoys are pretty much worthless, despite somehow actually tricking Cloud-Man for a moment. We turn to see Stickman surrendering. It seems as though he is finally beaten. Cloud-Man calls off his army, for some reason, and begins to rant about what he wants, when Stick-Kick sneaks up behind him and freezes him. Not exactly a smart move, since they should have known that this wouldn't work. Because it didn't work the first time, it didn't work the second time, and their backup plan was to do it a 3rd time? What? Cloud-Man bursts out in a furious tornado and begins growing massive. With his new powers, Cloud-Man can reach new heights and perform greater feats than ever before. So, what's the next step? Where can Cloud-Man go with these powers? He becomes a black hole. Is a black hole even considered weather? I suppose if we take any naturally occurring event in the greater outside universe that isn't caused by people, I suppose. He also wants to suck up the Earth. This makes no real sense, since he's trying to take it over? But I guess he could always just find another alien planet, since it's been proven that aliens do exist. But this is the scariest and biggest threat the heroes have ever faced. And Stickman is so overwhelmed that he nearly gives up. But, with some encouragement from Stick-Kick, he comes up with a grand, final, daring plan to win the day. It's here that we pull some serious classic comic vibes, with the pair flying up into space on their hoverboards, and flying in the opposite direction, trying to reverse the airflow. Stickman then goes back down to Earth, grabs the most useful tool in his tool belt, a vacuum cleaner. And not just any vacuum cleaner, the Super Vac. Stickman heads to the focal point and sucks up the black hole / tornado Cloudman and imprisons him inside the vacuum cleaner, this time for real. They take him to the freak jail, and Stickman gives Stickkick his hero name. They get a call from the mayor of the city because they've created a device that can open portals to other dimensions. Don't know why they have this portal, don't know why the mayor is heading the science project, don't know how he has their phone number, but they show up, the portal goes haywire, and they get sucked in. This was a rushed attempt to set up the third comic in the story. Wow, this script is long. This comic is actually shorter than the first one. So I guess I just had more to roast here. All in all, this was a sequel. It was a sequel. It fleshed out the characters a bit more, gave a different perspective, and showed some cool new set pieces. I don't think there's too much to be said here, as it's a simple continuation of the story, with cringy looks into my mental state. You can see that I have improved slightly in both my writing and drawing, but it is still that of a 6th grader who just wanted to write a fun superhero comic in his free time. Now, the next one in the series is significantly longer, and at the time of writing and recording this, it is not finished. So I guess that's what I'll be doing, is writing it and finishing it, and making it wrap itself up. It starts off really rough, honestly. Like, it continues, immediately after the second one, and it's still my super young brain writing it. But because I had those huge writing blocks, as I wrote it, there'll be a chunk where it just all of a sudden becomes better and more coherent, and things are explained and elaborated on. And right now, where the plot is, I've come up with some real... I don't want to, set expectations way too high, but personally, I really like what I've done with it. I really like some of the ideas that weren't there at the beginning that I've come up with and managed to set up and make work. I'm really excited. And honestly, there's quite a bit of story left to tell, I feel. So I don't know how long the third one's going to be. And am I going to write a fourth one? Maybe just for fun. I don't know. But that video might end up being in 2 parts just because of how long it is. Because these 2 are pretty long, and that story is significantly longer than both of them, so it's going to be a long video. But if you want to see what happens in the next one, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.